Hey, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. I'm Jason Oliver.
I'm Jeff Arbuckle.
And I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm going to try and keep it a little light. Jeff just came out of a wind tunnel. You all right over there?
Not great. I'm not great. If I'm being honest, I'm not great.
Jeff's just not doing so well. He feels like I looked while watching Zardoz.
But
I came out of it. I came through it okay.
You came to a different conclusion than
I came through Zardoz okay. Jeff, I don't think came out of this week's movie so well.
Nope. This was bound to happen eventually.
This week's movie is the extremely polarizing Cloud Atlas. Yes. So anybody listening who doesn't know what Cloud Atlas is probably like, what's Cloud Atlas? It's kind of indescribable.
Yeah, so buckle up for the next hour and 15 minutes. You guys are fucked.
So this movie is unique for a lot of reasons. It is a movie based on a novel, we should say first and foremost. A novel that most people, including the author, didn't really think was filmable because of the structure of the novel. And we'll get into that because the structure of the novel and the structure of the movie are both very different, but the movie kind of had to do what it did in order to adapt this source material in a way that would make any sense, I think. And Jeff's giving me eyes like, this made sense?
Wow, okay.
This movie is also unique for having 3 directors. You've got the Wachowskis and Tom Tykwer.
Had the Wachowskis transitioned by this time?
One of them had.
Okay.
Lana, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lily is the other one?
I think so. Okay. Was that formerly Larry? I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But isn't that interesting that they both transitioned?
Hey, man.
Huh.
Twins.
I find it interesting that this is the first time I've ever heard that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I had no idea.
Really?
Oh, wow.
No idea.
Did you know either one of them did?
No.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lana has been Lana for a while. I think
for a while.
even the third Matrix movie, maybe she had transitioned.
Or begun, but had not publicly
maybe hadn't had surgery.
Right.
To be honest, after Matrix 3, I forgot about the Wachowskis.
Oh, well, it's easy to do.
I think a lot of people did.
It's easy
for
to do.
many reasons.
I haven't forgiven them yet.
Nope.
They
Nope.
Not tonight.
They redeemed themselves for me a little.
They're polarizing still. But anyway, and Tom Tykwer, who, he's a German filmmaker. He has made a lot of really interesting movies that I love quite a bit, but is probably most known for Run Lola Run.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or Lola Rent in the original German.
That's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Yeah.
Tom Tykwer also composed the score for this movie.
1/3 of it.
Yes, correct. Which is very good. It's maybe the best part of this movie, in my opinion.
Did he,
I'll give you
Did he
that.
do the score of the sextant, like the?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the Cloud Atlas Sextet.
Sextet.
Yeah.
Sextet. Excuse me.
And then it is also somewhat unique for being one of, if not the most expensive, independently produced movie ever made.
I can see that.
The Wachowskis themselves, I think, put in about $20 million of their own money to make this movie.
They must have a bottomless pit of money.
That Matrix money.
Yep.
Shit, man. Because
They licensed the Matrix to everything.
well, that's true.
in the late 90s, early 2000s.
And they're about to make more off of that.
Well, they gotta
franchise, right?
fill the money pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gotta dump more in
The
there.
Scrooge's money bin is getting low.
Yeah.
They gotta.
Well, it's getting low. They weren't Scroogey enough because they've been throwing money at bad stuff.
Yeah. So, I think part of this episode should be a little bit of a Wachowski retrospective.
That's going to be a hell of a lot easier to talk about than this movie.
But we need to talk about this movie. But this movie, I do believe, defies description. You either kind of like get on board or you don't. and you got to kind of ride the wave.
You know what this movie felt like? It's like, I'll get on that really scary looking roller coaster. And you get on the roller coaster, and as you're going up,
And it's 3 hours long.
You're on the way up for a long time, and then you maybe never drop. You're just stuck up there waiting.
Turn into Italian Spider-Man.
No, what I was gonna say.
Jeff's still on the top of the roller coaster, just pissed off.
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Now there's a way you can make a 3-minute roller coaster feel like 3 hours. You get on board, and the thing drops down, and you're the last car they check as they come through. You know, the girl usually comes through and checks the seat thing.
They do the seat pull.
Yeah. And then yours comes up too far.
Scares you.
It scares you.
And you're scared.
And you're like, is it going to lock? Is it going to lock?
And you know it didn't. It did, but then it didn't.
I'm always too worried about my wallet to worry about anything else.
Yeah, my sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I fell out, that's cool. As long as I don't lose my wallet. As long as my wallet comes with me, I don't care.
I've got you, wallet. Oh, God, is this metaphor going to take 3 hours?
Probably.
I had said what I was going to say there. It didn't take long in this movie, as we were getting introduced to everybody, that I realized I don't feel very safe. I don't have my feet on the ground, and I don't like it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's disorienting. It's hard.
I could never reorient to this movie.
I can see
Even
that.
in Korea, boom, nailed it. Orient.
Oh,
I get you.
Nice. Well done. I saw this movie in the theater, and I kind of walked out of the theater dazed. I really did. I walked out with the feeling
I
of...
would have walked out.
Yeah,
long
Jeff would have
before
walked out.
was
Days before it was over.
I walked out a little bit with the feeling like I liked everything I saw, but I didn't really know what I saw.
Yeah, so okay. All right. Because at first I thought maybe this will be like one of those lighthouse things. Like my brain soaked in some stuff. And the brain said you liked it, but your eyeballs are like, what? The whole thing was what? The whole time. The whole fucking time. And there were points. You should have seen me back there. Like I was leaning forward in my chair like this. Like, what? Come on, guys. I was turning into fucking Johnny Bench, man. It's like waiting for the pitch of this movie to land.
This movie was like a sweater with a yarn sticking out of it. So I had something to pull on like the whole time. I was following a piece of the yarn.
I just was doing
But it's undone now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I could put it back together necessarily. But I have all the goddamn yarn.
That makes sense too. Yeah. No, I think all of these reactions are fair, and this is why this movie was so damn polarizing. I mean, it's pretty rare you get a movie that is on both best of and worst of lists at year-end lists, right? That's a rarity. And in my opinion, that movie is something I got to see, right?
Right.
Like it is, and I'm probably going to either love it or hate it. And I happen to fall on the love it camp from this one, and Jeff happens to fall on the maybe not hate it, but
I hated this movie.
But all right, he hates it. Okay.
I was trying to be nice.
It's fine. You can hate it.
No, I hated this movie.
A lot of people who I like, and a lot of people I like their opinion on, hate this movie, and also some really love this movie, and it's fine. It just doesn't work for everybody.
It got to a certain point where it's like I had no, like I was saying, my feet weren't on the ground, so I didn't know what was going on, and so then I naturally started nitpicking, and it was really, really, really bothering me. The whole, here's some white dudes that are now Asian, and here's Halle Berry playing a different race, and what's the Korean girl's name?
Gosh, I can't remember her name, and I will mangle it anyway because I'm terrible.
But
I'm terrible.
She's playing
Duna Bae or Bai. I don't know. Bae.
Duna. Okay, so she's, it's like at one point she's playing the daughter of Hugo Weaving, and it's like I cannot get behind this. It's like it's starting to.
Did
bother
you know
me.
it was her early in the film? Because I didn't know. I don't know. If
No,
they
but the
showed her.
moment she showed up, it's like, oh,
Right. It was supposed to kind of be shocking, I think, in more than one way.
it was shocking the wrong way with me every time on those. And it also, I get the, I get the controversy around it because I was like, man, this is making me feel weird, man.
Sure,
it's making me feel real weird.
I mean, I think. What are you going to do, honestly, with that? I mean, that's
true. Yeah, I mean, this is something that you could do animated style, but that's also probably why this book isn't adaptable.
I'm sensitive to that stuff too, but for me, the message of this movie is so earnest and sincere about essentially what amounts to post-racism to me, like this concept of sort of reincarnation, this intertwining of souls, this intertwining of humanity, right? That we're all kind of dependent on one another, no matter what time and place you're in. That race sort of becomes insignificant. Yeah. So I think that's part of the message there. I agree that it can be cringy because of today's society, but I do believe it's trying to look past that.
Because
so intention is everything.
Sure,
right?
Because there is a difference, like when you talk about things like, because this is obviously melding Western and Eastern sides of the world, right?
Sure.
So like you've got, and I'm not unexposed to that sort of stuff because I mean Firefly, where you would have where the Chinese language started, working its way into regular English speak.
Yeah.
I think even that's a big subplot that happens in between the present and when Cowboy Bebop takes place, where those characters are essentially, you can see those characters as whatever race you want. Or something like that, where it's not, it's gotten beyond that, where, for a lack of a better term, the mix of societies and so on. Yeah.
Well, shoot, where was I going to go with that afterwards?
I do not know.
I don't know either. I think we should talk about the source material first and get that kind of established. So it's based on a novel by, David Mitchell. I have not read the entire novel, but I did attempt to read it after watching the movie maybe the second time. And I was actually surprised to learn that the novel is written in a different structure. So how it starts is it's told chronologically with each of the 6 stories. There are 6 stories in Cloud Atlas, each one in a different time period. You have I
haven't written down
19th century,
1849.
Yep.
1936.
Yep.
1973, 2012, 2144, and 106 winters after the fall.
Yeah. So
whenever
six,
that is.
6 stories, 7 time periods. And
I'm just saying, I hate that kind of descriptor. Fucking put a year there, man. We live in our time. That time is a different time. They can say it. Give us a little Chiron that says, "Oh, this means like 23 something."
Here we
Jeff
go
and
with
his
the Chirons
again.
But anyway, the book. So the book, it starts with the 19th century story. It moves to the 1930s story, the 1970s story, and it tells half of each story in succession. So you get big chunks, which would probably be more appetizing. Is that the right word for you, Jeff?
Are there pictures in the book?
No.
Not appetizing.
Right. But you might be more willing to process a story if it were told in that way.
Let's put it this way. The Wikipedia entry for this movie, the paragraphs are split, so they're not mixed up. They're telling the full story. So I understand it better. So
the last time period with sort of the post-apocalyptic where the world has moved on, that's the center of the book, and then it goes back in time with that second half of each story.
So they tell that full story.
They tell that full story in the middle. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I can dig it.
The way they ended it here, it was really important that you didn't see it until.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a feeling that coda and that preamble and
coda was actually the word I was trying to come up with.
Oh, okay.
Not whatever it was before.
Well, coda
is an ending. It's a tag on. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wait.
Coda is a tag on. Codec is what you're talking about. The key.
Think coda at the end of the Dark Tower series is the chapter with Ed and Eddie.
Oh,
and
sure.
Right.
So but that's
the first time.
So
sorry, listeners.
No, that's all right. That's an outside the episode talk that now is bleeding into the episode. But but like that coda, it's like I feel like that coda was probably added for the movie.
Like him with Granny and
yeah,
it could
like
very well be.
Just so that they had something that they could put a bow on it. Like to me, it's like, oh, okay. We've got all these disparate stories. We can't tell it the way that the book tells us, so let's find a way to stick something at the end that kind of ties it all together.
Once we get to that point, I'll explain why I think it's important, because there's a lot in that character, in Zachary,
yeah.
However you say it, that is important to the whole tale. Like his character and his journey.
And so the book has kind of the same central premise of the movie, where you have, sort of these same souls moving from life to life throughout the history of this book, and into, characters that are experiencing similar arcs, right?
Right.
But they all sort of tie together as well in the book as they do in the movie, with some sort of remnant of history, right? So in the first story, you have oh gosh, there's so many characters. It's going to be hard to do this. You have Adam Ewing, who is writing his journal of his Pacific, the ship that he's on, and going back to California. That gets picked up by Frobisher in the second story, and he's reading it. And then that story ties to the Eliza Ray, is that her name? Character Halle Berry, right? Yeah. Because she meets Sixsmith for one, and then she
gets the sextet.
Right. She gets
the letters
that Frobisher writes to Sixsmith, right?
Yeah. So she's also learning about the Ewings. Mm-hmm. So it's compounding.
It's compounding, right? And it just keeps compounding, and to the point where you get to Duna Bay, and the Somni character, to where her actual words are the culmination of all of this history.
Yeah.
Right. And it's showing her humanity as a essentially a replicant, an android. They call them what do they call them?
It was something very similar to replicant.
Well, that's interesting. Do you I think they were bio-engineered. They were
cloned, essentially. Yeah.
Because they had blood and protein and all that. Like they
they sure do have the protein.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah.
The fabricants.
That's it. Because they couldn't say replicants.
To the point where she is then creating a new religion for some.
It's a religion that people...
And also a restoration of humanity in others, right?
Right. So whatever it is, like she's the culmination that then in the end time circles all the way back around, and just kind of everybody's... It's I guess, and that's why that prelude and the coda both kind of make sense. It's telling human history around a campfire, ultimately.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the book, Mitchell,
I love this movie now.
So Mitchell, he was kind of like, I don't know. David, no,
Joe Don Baker,
the writer,
David Mitchell, the author. His sort of point was like, how are you going to make this movie if you're going to have to kind of keep going back to the beginning, to reiterate things that are happening that happened before and why they matter now, right? Mm-hmm. Because in a storybook, in a novel, that's a little easier to convey,
right?
Not so much in a movie, especially when people are kind of conditioned towards anthologies and things. It's like, well, what is this?
Well, between an anthology and just seeing a character and having that character stick to you, that was right. That's why I couldn't find my my footing.
So by editing them all together and weaving them together, it I think is polarizing, but also I think it's the only way this movie can work for anyone. In a lot of ways.
There were points I get that, and maybe this didn't work as well for Jeff, I don't know, but there were points in this movie where I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, I get it.
Sure.
You don't have to hammer this point home to me again.
I was having a hard time getting any points, so I didn't notice that as much as because you had mentioned that.
Yeah, I said it during. I was like, "Oh my God, we get it."
What is the word she says from the movie that Tom Hanks delivers?
The line, that keeps getting
something about the authority. Your authority
I will not stand for oppression.
I will not. Yeah, a medical abuse. I will not stand for this medical abuse
or something like
that. Something like that. Yeah.
So, but anyway, the editing again, I think is excellent in this movie. Though, while it's part of the way the whole story has to be told is in the editing, and I like a lot of the beats. They try to keep it together. They try to keep everybody's arc on the same pace. They try to create suspense across 6 different storylines,
right,
with the same gravity, and that's hard to do. And I don't think it always works, but there are moments of like just amazing magical synchronicity.
There is, like a phone rings, someone picks it up, and they're in the next timeline, but you feel the same kind of weight of what's happening now.
Exactly.
That happens quite a few times where I'm like, oh, that's used to really good effect.
Yeah.
And then other times it's used just to kind of to center you so you can be like, okay, that is this character.
Yeah.
Still. Or this soul has just transferred timelines.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a question about the souls. So in one timeline, so in all timelines, as you do in real life, Hugo Weaving's the bad guy.
Yeah, and in real life.
And in real, yep. I mean, I'm sure he's not a bad guy, but in every movie he's in. I mean, he's the fucking Red Skull. God damn it.
I mean, I guess he's not technically a bad guy in V for Vendetta.
But he is both the pro and antagonist.
That is true.
That is
true.
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll talk about that one. But the Jim Broadbent character in one is kind of pompous. In the next one, he's kind of goofy. In most you have a good guy in Tom Hanks, but in one he's poisoning a dude to death for his gold.
I think he's gradually getting better, and I think that's one of the whole points of this film is that there's always a little bit of evil to his character, and he could have gone through with it later, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see that. Okay.
Like even when he's the hotel guy, he's like, oh, I could turn you in unless you pay me money. He's still trying to get shit from people. And at the end, they really hammer it with Hugo Weaving being that thing that's been in his mind, or hammering his soul to do bad things, like all of his eternity. At least that's the way I read it.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to read it.
So I guess he is kind of evolving over time.
And
some people evolve differently than others.
Well, I think that's the point. Honestly, I'm getting to this a little early, but the point of the whole film is that these people, there are some people who will keep being reborn and they will keep fighting. They will always fight against oppression and hope to change one person's mind. And this fight continues forever. But we see that it pans out on multiple timelines to a point.
Yeah. Okay. I can get behind that. I can get behind that. Thank you for clearing that up, because that was one thing where I was like, wait a minute, man. It's like Tom Hanks is like a real bastard in this. And then it would jump forward to the point where it's like, he's like the really, really nice guy who wants to help Halle Berry.
And that's why they show the devil, so you will still have doubt about him, because he seems like such a nice guy. But
well, I'm talking about the 70s.
So I don't think.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know that I've explicitly, or we've explicitly mentioned, for those who haven't seen this movie, that most of the actors play multiple roles. So you have the same actors many times in heavy makeup playing different characters in each of the 6 storylines. So I mean, that I think part of that kind of contributes, I think, to some of the disorientation.
Right.
But it also, it's so the craftsmanship of that and you can tell why the actors loved to make this movie, because they got to do so many different things, and so many different things that they normally wouldn't get to do.
Right. Like Tom Hanks was a freaking Southern Ireland or whatever, like gangster.
Yeah,
basically.
Right. He said.
That part felt like a Danny Boyle movie.
Yeah, he said this is one of his most his favorite movies ever made, and one of the only movies he's ever seen of his more than twice.
Interesting.
Yeah,
He's not seen Dragnet more than twice.
I guess not. Maybe that's one of the ones.
Okay.
I also want to mention too that the novel was very specifically written. Each storyline was written in a different style. So you had kind of like historical fiction for the first segment. You had, I don't know what you would call I think the second one maybe was more of like a sort of like a Dickens style or like a Gatsby kind of style.
He tried to emulate the era that he was
and
writing.
He wrote the Alana Ray storyline like a hard boiled like crime novel, right? From the 70s.
Sure.
He wrote the next one was the Jim Broadbent the publisher story. He wrote that like kind of like a madcap comedy, right? So
that's let's talk about that, because there were funny things in that. I know you guys really, really like that. Like I know that guy, that little old guy and everything. I was so far out of it though. It's like, man, I can't shift to this funny thing and then shift to this fucking horrible future where we're eating ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't want. It's like I can't do that. It's like tone. I will hammer on tone.
I think it's a fair criticism. I think that's why part of the reason why the book probably doesn't translate as well to this medium, right? I can't argue against that. I really can't. It's not a perfect movie, but it is for our theme of April. It fits perfectly.
It does. It took a big ass swing. Like it did the Bugs Bunny swinging 3 times on the same pitch. You know. But the one thing I will say, the movie looks great. Mm-hmm. The movie. I wasn't totally out of it. I was just out of the story, but the visuals I liked.
Right.
The music's very good. The sextet, which plays a little bit before and after those, is beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of music.
You see all $130 million in this movie. That is for sure.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's like this. You know, you go to an art museum, right? And you see just a sunflower painting, right? And you see, oh, that's a nice sunflower. You know, it looks nice. It's well painted or whatever. But then the next guy next to you is like, oh, but it's got all these layers and this texture and all, and it's like you're seeing things I can't see and I could never possibly really see. Like I can't see beyond the thing, right? Like
seeing in one dimension.
Seeing it in one dimension, right. And one-dimensional thinking, maybe, you know, it's like, I admit it. Sometimes I fall into that. If I can't get into something, it's done, you know. But then also, like, I can understand, like, another good example is, like, maybe something that's more on the level of, like, a Jackson Pollock, right? Where you're, like, spraying stuff all over the place and you're just going nuts on a big canvas or whatever. And the person viewing it may not quite understand, but you can certainly understand maybe the artist having fun with that. And so when somebody like Tom Hanks says this is like one of his favorite movies he's ever made, I can understand that. I can understand. He got to play 6 different characters essentially. You know, so I get it.
It's interesting. Man. It's interesting you compared it to art like that, because David Mitchell himself has called the story a pointillist mosaic.
There you go.
And pointillism is, if you're not familiar, is when you basically take little tiny points of paint and you create a picture, right? That makes sense. You can see it from afar.
But if you look at it up close, it doesn't look like anything.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's exactly right. I think that a lot of that feeling is intentional it is. It's not even to a degree. It's absolutely intentional.
Yeah.
And I think that is also illustrated in the novel, in the book, or God,
The movie?
help me, thank you.
The movie.
The movie.
It's been a
the
long
movie.
night, folks.
Yeah.
because that's kind of like the point that good Lord, too many character names. Ewing mentions at the end when he says it's a drop of
That's a good line.
water in the ocean. Hugo Weaving, his father-in-law, is like, oh, you're nothing you do is going to make a difference.
Well,
it's just one drop in the ocean.
Let's set that up a little bit too, because that's a really good conclusion to that story that actually says, okay, the fight has begun. Hugo Weaving's a capitalist. He owns dozens of slaves. And Adam Ewing?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Adam Ewing is his
Son-in-law.
is married to Tilda, his daughter, the guy's daughter. And after this whole ordeal and being saved by a black man stowed away on a ship that was, I think, going back and forth bringing slaves.
Yeah, it was a slave trip.
Yeah,
A slave
and
ship.
Yeah, he had seen him getting whipped.
Yep.
Like when he was on the island. Like,
and then he took off and got on board the ship
Yeah.
with Adam Ewing. Yeah, so he got his life saved. So he had an eye-opening experience that like, no, these people are just like us, or whatever. And so he basically says, I don't want your life. I'm moving back east, and we're going to join the
we're going to
abolitionists.
fight your life.
We're going to fight your life.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's when he says, there's nothing you will do that will amount to anything more than a drop in the ocean. And that's when Adam says, well, isn't the ocean just made up of
A multitude of drops.
drops, which is, that's exactly right. It's
Very poignant.
yeah, it is. And it's a good way of looking at it. It's like, well, then I'm on equal standing with everybody then.
Right.
There's a moment I also like in that storyline when Adam Ewing, when Ewing realizes, I think he makes his first step towards that discovery of humanity, really, of that these are people that he's trading as a commodity. When the slave, the escaped slave, says to him, you're my friend. Basically he just declares them friends.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says, how could you and I ever conceive that we could be friends? And he just looks at him and he says, you, from this, just from looking at you, from seeing you,
This is all
Yeah.
you need.
I see you, you saw me, and I know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That story is like super important overall because it sets up the Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
arc
it's the
really well,
beginning
'cause
of an
he's-
arc for some of those people who need to get better.
Right. And they're all there at the end. They're all very important at the end of the movie.
Right. Well,
for the most part.
if I had to say anything, probably that story probably was my favorite one.
Yeah.
Of the bunch, because it felt the most complete and it felt the most hopeful.
Yeah.
A lot of the other stories end very tragically. And again, you know what I'm about to say here. That's not really what I want out of a story oftentimes.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I wanted things to end happily for people, and for most of these stories it didn't really. Or at least half of the stories, I guess. And the ones that didn't end very happily ended very, very unhappily.
Is it true that maybe, and that the Broadbent story is a little bit of an outlier, but it feels like in every story there was at least one character who signed up to fight who didn't need to, shouldn't have to,
Yeah.
wasn't.
That brings me to one of my questions. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was special about Sanmi? Other than they just needed somebody on the inside, I guess?
I think that's all it really was. They needed somebody to describe.
I agree.
Yeah.
She wasn't necessarily special, but she had, I think the other one was the one that tried to escape.
Well, not necessarily tried to escape, but like fucking punch the dude who...
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she woke up.
Yeah.
That whole thing was
She
quite
could-
like literal and figurative.
Yeah.
Well, if you woke up, who woke, or if she woke you up, who woke her up?
Right.
Like
So Somni
it was someone who was
451
wise to what was going.
was kind of
on.
the consolation because
Yeah.
that character came to see, essentially he came to kill Hugh Grant in one of his many crazy villain roles.
Hugh Grant playing.
He's in many ways like
Charlie Chan.
he's in many ways the actual true villain of the ones that he's a part of, and Hugo Weaving is his heavy.
Yeah, fair
Yes.
enough.
Yeah.
That's an excellent way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I just was like, it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like that was an organization that was very poorly run.
It was
like
the 70s, man. Wait,
no.
Oh, the later one.
The later
the
one.
Neo.
Yeah, the 70s one was actually
Neo
run
Soul.
pretty well. Yeah, Neo Soul, the Korean story. Yeah, that was, it's like that whole underground move. It's like, you need one more person to do. Why can't all of you figure out how to do this right? So you need one more person to sit there and basically take a fucking bolt like a goddamn cattle to the forehead for you.
So think
I
of
don't
it
think
this
that
way.
was the end game. I don't think that her death was the end game. What they wanted to accomplish, she accomplished through getting the message out to the other 12 outworlds or whatever.
Yes, because everyone else had become accustomed to believing that these were not people. They didn't have feelings. They didn't have thoughts. They didn't love. And the fact that she stood up there and said that to everybody was supposed to be liberating. It was liberation for people.
I also
realize.
I
all
also
those fuckers died.
Right? Am I right?
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I also think that
They needed the Delta Force to come in so all of them didn't have to die.
but it also bookends the first story so well with the slavery essentially, because you have the providers of the slaves, right?
Right.
And they're all coming from Africa, from this place. I think that Earth, Neo Soul, was the place where all of them were made, and they were being shipped out to these other worlds.
Right.
And they were being fed, lies essentially that they were soulless.
Right.
So yeah, that's exactly right. She
They needed a soulless person to say, "Hey, look at me. I'm real."
I feel.
Yeah.
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 Which is,
Which-
the Broadbent story.
Which
while
is
it
a
was-
bad day for the fabricant stock.
Right.
Yeah.
The Broadbent story, while weird, still had all those themes too, like
yeah, because the
slavery
old,
and
the old was being thrown
captivity.
away.
I also like there's
escape and
again
freedom and all that.
Yeah.
There's another drop when she says, he says, "Well, do you think anyone will even believe you?" And she says, "Well,
one already.
one already
does.
has." Yeah, like that's beautiful. I mean, she's served a higher purpose than I can probably ever hope to serve in that.
And that's why it's super important that the same characters play the same people, because she was talking to him, and you may not recognize that if it wasn't the same actor from a previous story.
Yeah.
Right? Like his soul. He's
That's not the same.
That it wasn't actually the same.
The guy who played Sexsmith was the guy who was the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
The guy who ran the Inquisitors was Hugo Weaving. And he was
I know Sexsmith was the one that was
Interrogating
interrogating
the
her.
archivist. Yeah.
Yeah, so she made him. She was the one. He was the one she made believe when she says one person already has. And if it wasn't the same, the same actor playing the character, you may not feel that.
Gotcha. Yes.
Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. Because in the earlier, now see, you can see that guy, the guy who plays that character, Sexsmith grew. He went the other direction than most of the other characters because he's had life after life of disappointment. So he's grown bitter.
But you get the feeling she sends him back the other way.
Or at least beginning the next cycle.
Yeah, because he starts to believe that my true love might still be out there.
Yeah.
For me.
There. Yeah. Okay.
That was a nice little sigh
I like it.
All that stuff, I like that a lot. I thought.
Well, there are a lot. I mean, all the pieces here are things that are worthy of like and worthy of love. Yeah. Well, but the thing is, though, it's like the sum for me just didn't equal anywhere near the parts.
I feel like, and I'm not saying you're going to wake up tomorrow and like this movie, but I could see it being one that you do need, like you said earlier, when you look at it from up close, you can't really see everything. Maybe given some time to think about it, you might be like, oh, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, this is a perfect time. I was actually going to pulling this quote before you said that. So
Okay,
this is
go.
perfect. This guy's got an awesome last name, by the way. Mark Kermode,
Nice.
English critic. On his
He
first
thinks everything is shit.
Kermode, yeah, right. It's like a great day for a contrarian critic. Yeah. Oh, you got Kermoded. On his first viewing, called it an extremely honorable failure, but a failure. But then on a second viewing for the release of the DVD in the UK, stated, second time around, I found it to be more engaging. Still not an overall success, but containing several moments of genuine magic and buoyed up by the exuberance of high vaulting ambition. I think that's in many ways sums up how I feel about this movie.
Well, except for you wouldn't call it a failure.
I would call it not a perfect success.
But a
He
success.
says still not an overall success. I agree with that.
Okay.
I absolutely agree with that.
I would say that for the most part.
I would not call it an honorable failure, but a failure. He changed his tune on that.
Sure.
He flipped it more to the success side than failure side.
Yeah. Now, I said earlier that I hated this movie. I don't really hate this movie.
Oh, you're coming around. He's coming around.
No, let's put it this way. I'm never going to get that second viewing. I'm not going to watch it again. Now, I might go to Wikipedia where they separate out the stories and look at it there and say, okay, now, then if it all got smashed back together, okay, I guess I get what's going on a little bit better than I did. But again, it's that idea of I'm still seeing that painting of the sunflower. You know, it's like I'm still on that one-dimensional level. I cannot break through to the deeper layers quite the way I think you guys did.
Honestly, for me, and I think I said this earlier, they make a big point in that first story out of Tom Hanks being like he's greedy, right? He's trying to kill this man for greed.
Yeah, for a chest full of gold.
Yeah, but he starts to take little things off him, and one of the things he takes off is the top button, which is a jewel on his shirt, like super early.
And then his ring.
And then his ring. But that jewel carries all the way. I don't know if it's in every scene. I'd like to go back to see if that jewel is there.
This is like the fourth or fifth time I've seen this movie, and I never caught that. So this movie can be rewarding.
With him in particular.
Because in the last, I don't know if we're ready to talk about that yet, but the first time you see him, he puts it in his bag, and then later he's wearing that same jewel around his neck. So that greed, if it's a symbolic thing, is you're supposed to carry that through. Like this crap that he did many, many lives ago is still with him. You know, and he acted in greed when he looked at it. He didn't go to help his friends in that early story who got killed.
Yeah. Because he also...
Right?
That is another thing. Cowardice is something that plays into his... Pettiness and cowardice also plays a part in his character all the way through, too.
Right, because he can't kill a guy. He has to poison him slowly by making him believe...
that he's sick.
That he's saving him.
Right. That he's sick and that he's the only person
that's
that can
the cowardly way to kill somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's petty when he's playing the writer in the Jim Broadbent thing to the point where he tosses a critic off of a building.
Right.
That was surprising.
I also don't think that that time is linear in the lives of these souls.
Maybe not.
Because I don't think they necessarily learn from one life to the next. I think it's in a totality type of thing. Because I want to talk about the birthmark.
Oh yeah,
the comet birthmark that one character in each storyline has.
Right.
And I think that comet signifies them as their best self, if you will.
Maybe.
Like that's when they've their best self. They've transcended, and they've maybe added that drop to the ocean, right? So you have
that's when they make their biggest effect.
Right. That's when they that's
on the world.
That's their ripple.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So you've got Tom Hanks as the gangster, he throws a guy off a building, right? That's him at one of his worst.
Right.
But his soul has in some way, shape, or form been able to manage to be a completely different and better person that actually made a positive effect in the universe.
That makes great sense.
When he was Zachary at the end.
Right.
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 Wasn't there somebody who mentioned something about wasn't there something about the consciousness being like not having a beginning or end, or somebody had mentioned that in one of the stories.
I think it's
The writer, maybe.
I think it's definitely in Somni's.
Yeah, I was going to say I think
manifest, but manifesto, but it comes from somewhere else as well. I can't remember exactly when.
It may have been in one of the letters that Ben Wishaw's character writes to.
Yeah, it could
Sex
very
myth.
well have been. Yeah,
Because there's a lot of that is set in. I mean, you really kind of have to pay attention to what he's writing, because I think that's the through line.
yeah,
But he's not a particularly great character either. Like, he has a lot of flaws too.
absolutely.
He's a crook or a con man. Because even like the Jim Broadbent version of that timeline was like, oh yeah, we were told not to hire you. We knew all about you from the beginning, to lock up the silver.
Yeah, he's most definitely the most tragic character.
Yes, he's lost, and it's part of that's probably he's a gay man in 1936.
Sure. Yeah.
In Europe, not a great place to be. Probably a gay person at that time.
And really his ripple.
He already dropped his ripple.
Right.
Right.
in the
His
first
is
story.
right away. Yeah.
Right. I mean, he it impacts a sexsmith. I mean, a sexsmith probably saved who knows how many lives with his decision to.
Notice Sexsmith and Ben Winshaw's character died the same way. Just different people inflicted it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and also the music. He put that out into the universe. Everybody dreams it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That must have been daunting to have to create a real piece of music to a fictional thing like that.
Yeah. That's a tough, and that's why you probably immediately think there's no way you can translate this.
Right.
Because what you might find beautiful, it's like if you get the wrong person writing that music, it's like, I'm willing to bet that Miley Cyrus would have written a different song. Beethoven would have written a different song. I don't know.
Funny.
It's interesting because I don't necessarily think this movie is all that complicated. It's just structurally and tonally disorienting. And I just don't. But I don't know of any other way they could have done it. I just don't. If you're going to adapt the source material, I mean, I don't see any other way you could have made this movie.
Well, you brought up V for Vendetta.
Yeah,
it's the exact same problem. Like, V for Vendetta has so much stuff going on. There's no way you can make that into a 3-hour movie, let alone whatever it was, 2:15 or whatever. There's too many characters. There's too much stuff going on. This character over here impacts this way over here much, much later than when they did their thing originally or whatever. And it's you take the through line, and sometimes that through line is a bunch of love letters between a couple of guys, and you let that be the through line, and then just put stuff wherever thematically it matches.
Right.
And either you're behind it or you're not, or
Yep.
it works or it doesn't, and you kind of have to just take it.
You had said early to us when because I always analyze things that I'm watching. You had said, I think to both of us, you gave us the advice of not trying to put the stories together, just to let them fall together. I don't know if I could have enjoyed it that way.
Interesting.
If I wasn't
because I was really trying to let that happen. Yeah.
If I wasn't paying attention, like critically, to try to find the through lines and stuff like that, I probably it would have fallen apart for me halfway through.
I guess I was trying to allow it to happen naturally and not try to manufacture like sci-fi stuff.
No, I was trying
for how it should all mesh. You know what I mean?
I was trying
guess
to make
that was more what I was
connections.
trying to do.
Yeah, connections between stories.
Because it's a
not so
lot more
much-
metaphysical than it is anything else. Right.
Right.
And it's hard to will that into somebody's viewing of this movie on the first attempt.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like the what is the totem?
Yeah. Inception.
Inception. I needed something to keep my eye on.
Yeah.
Or even the movie, another movie by him, I can't even think of it right now. It's one of my favorite films. David Bowie's in it.
Oh, The Prestige.
Yes, The Prestige. Yeah. Thank you. That's another one I had to pay attention to because it would have fallen on its face for me if I wasn't, But that movie warns you, pay attention.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and I think maybe that's
a movie we need to do.
Yeah.
That was probably something that was a downfall for me, was that I kept waiting for it to intersect in some way.
Yeah.
And the way it intersects is kind of in the background of an action scene.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, so like you said your thing, and then what happened? Oh, yeah, you guys all showed up and killed my boyfriend, and you're watching these people, you're watching a fucking laser battle while she's giving you the connection to everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm lost. I have no, where did you say this connected?
Yeah,
and it's like,
that's fair.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fair, absolutely.
I don't know if that would have been, I still don't know if I watched it alone, I would have gotten past the first 20 minutes or so, because we paused it for a minute so everybody could go to the bathroom, and I was like, fuck, we're only an hour in. I feel like we've been here for days, and it's like I was already checked out. I couldn't wait around.
There is a segment in the movie, in the early second half of the movie, where it does feel like we've entered the third act, but we haven't yet, because there's still yet another. Everyone's at their lowest moment.
There's
point.
a 2.5 act in this film.
Yeah, because there's 6 third acts.
Yeah.
There's 18 acts in this movie.
There was a moment where I was like,
oh,
this is when they get to the satellite station, and wow, we're really cooking through this movie. I was like, oh, no, wait a minute. No. There's like a whole other 45 minutes before that. Yeah. Yeah.
Did in the, I keep calling it the Broadbent one, but the comedy one.
Yeah.
Did he have the comet tattoo? Who had the comet tattoo?
He did. He had
story?
to have. I don't remember seeing it though. He had to have.
I was just curious because he liberated people and caused a riot.
Right. Yeah.
It was like a smaller scale.
Absolutely.
It was a smaller scale of all the bigger things that happened. Yeah. No,
well,
I get
again,
it.
it's the drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
Right. But his was a lot smaller.
It didn't have maybe as big a ripple.
And that was the first to drop, right? Is that the first end of a story we saw?
Maybe.
I'd have to go back and watch it.
Been.
So it was the first drop was the smallest, but it wasn't really necessarily the first.
Yeah, that could very well have been.
Started a fight with rugby hooligans.
Yes, who were the brothers of Tom Hanks from.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was the same story.
But it was all in the same story.
They
showed up twice.
Yeah. Well, that
characters.
has an opening and closing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It would be interesting. I don't. They would probably never make this, but it would be interesting to make a fan edit of all the stories chronologically without the edits.
Right.
Just to kind of see how it plays. I have a feeling it would probably be a pretty dull watch. But
which story would you put last?
I think you'd probably have to do it. Well, first you would just you would put them all chronological.
Oh, okay.
I like just put each story linear without editing.
Some of them would
them.
have far less impact.
Yeah, but I don't know which order you would put them in
Right.
chronologically or not. I don't think that would matter. It would almost be interesting to just be able to move them around,
right,
and decide what you wanted to do with that.
If I could get the edit where it's like, okay, we're just going to take that 1849 story, I'd watch that one again. I'd probably watch the New Korea or the New Seoul one again.
Yeah,
but that's just because the way that one looked was so different than the other, and it's like, I can guess the Wachowskis did this one.
Yeah.
Did they do that
I
one?
love the art design of that.
Did they do that one and the last one? The last Tom Hanks one?
So yes, let's talk about
and
that.
they did the 1849 one too.
They did the 1849 and
that was a good one.
and the first two segments. Yeah, Tickford did the middle.
I think maybe I like them not doing super goofy futuristic shit. Like maybe I want to see a Wachowski movie that's like a period piece of not 2144 but of 1849
I think
or whatever.
my favorite scene in the movie was in that, the funnest scene for me at least was, and I know you want to talk about what parts they did, but when the slave goes and drops the mask.
Oh yeah, that was exciting.
On the that's such a great scene.
That's a really exciting scene. Yeah.
The only thing missing is him holding a knife in his mouth while he's doing it. You know what I mean?
It's a swashbuckling
piratey.
scene, and it earns his keep.
Yeah,
too.
It's great.
He earns his own freedom that way.
Yeah.
The segment that feels the most like a Tickford film is the Sixsmith and Frobisher segment. Like that is very, very Tickford. Plus, he's worked with Winshaw a lot,
Right.
So it was pretty. It felt very much like what I would expect, even thematically from Tickford.
Right.
The Wachowskis, though. So let's do a little retrospective.
Go for it.
Well, their first movie was Bound, with Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon.
Oh yeah. God, did I see that movie? Probably.
Yeah,
a
you
good
had
movie.
to have. You watched it on Skinamax or something.
No, I took it home. I took it home from the video store.
But that's
probably
what I mean. That's
yeah.
one of those movies. 17-year-old us. That's the year, right? Like
No, it
90.
was after. It was after Showgirls.
Was
Because
it?
it's like, oh, Gina Gershon's in another movie.
It was
I'll
it
just
was
check
maybe
this
a
out.
year or two before the first Matrix.
Yeah, so probably
Anyway, it was right at that
96,
age where
97.
we'd want to see a movie with Gina Gershon and Meg Tilly.
Meg Tilly, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Jennifer Tilly.
Jennifer
Whichever
Tilly.
Tilly was.
Either one would have been fine.
Either one was
You
fine.
could have had both of them in there. Just bind them right up. Did I say that out loud?
But that's a movie that I think I'd like to revisit sometime. I haven't seen it in forever, but it's a really good thriller. Like it's just it's a tiny, small little film. You know, it's sexy, it's pretty saucy, but it's also just a good movie.
I'm pretty sure I only remember the late. Honest, I'm being honest here, because the time that I watched it, probably only remembered them being sexy.
I remember the
I don't
cover of the
remember-
box, of
I
the
don't remember
VHS
any
box.
of the story. So yeah, I mean, knowing now that it's a Wachowski film, I think I would like to go back and rewatch
Yeah,
it.
sure, why not?
Let's have a Wachowski party.
No.
Oh, Jeff's not into that at all. He's not into that.
Okay, so that was their first, and then
So that
the
was their
next was
first
Matrix.
So I'm going to try and pull this up. Actually, I'm just going to.
Jeff, just keep talking about Meg Tilly and Gina Gershon,
yeah,
please.
I recently watched Showgirls.
Oh, I did hear that.
Yes, and
Did you write about it for one of your other?
unbelievably, like I wrote a fucking novel about it.
Yeah?
I cannot believe it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on B Movie Enema,
I sure did.
not Monster Mondays.
No, not Monster Mondays.
Yeah, well, you could have.
I probably could have.
Yeah,
There are some monsters in
Yeah.
that, like Kyle MacLachlan's like acting choices, and
Oh,
that as a
man.
monster.
Yeah.
he is over the
out
top.
of control.
And the funny thing
he
is-
might be one of the only people in that movie though who knows what kind of movie they're making.
Right, and you know, at over 5,600 words that I wrote for that article, I didn't talk about him that much.
right. Was he pretending he was in a Lynch film in that movie?
No, if he were in a Lynch film, he would be far less over the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He
No, he probably realized, like, you know, it's like this is going to be dark satire, like, you know, like a Paul Verhoeven movie,
Right.
but it isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's a bad movie.
Like he plays, I guess, a little bit more a different type of camp in Lynch movies.
Yeah.
But it's campy. That's
Yeah, a little. Yeah, probably not so much in Blue Velvet, but definitely in Twin Peaks. You know,
Right.
Agent Cooper is kind of a campy character.
yeah.
And
In a good way. In a very good way. I love him.
And even Dune. That whole movie is just littered with camp.
he was pretty good in The Doors.
Probably the
also.
unintentional type.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was good in The
he's
Doors.
good in the Doors. Okay, so all right, so Bound was 96. Then they made The Matrix. I mean, The Matrix was groundbreaking.
Yeah, the first Matrix, I have zero issues. I didn't quite fall in love with it like everybody else did, but I had no issues.
I
with it.
saw that movie, 12 times in the theater. I was working at a theater at the time. I saw that movie every night for like a week.
Whoa.
Like I loved, I still love The Matrix.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah, let's
I
be
just
real
want to
clear.
make sure we're clear here as we
the
go
first
through
one.
them.
Now we're going to start to split hairs a little bit on the next one.
Matrix
the sequel,
2.
The Matrix Reloaded. Yeah, which was 4 years later.
Didn't particularly love it, but I was like, it all hinges on how they answer these questions.
It's exactly right. I've said it 1,000 times. Matrix, the third Matrix movie, retroactively made the second Matrix movie garbage.
I
Yep.
agree 100% because the stuff they set up with the architect at the end of the second one,
So
I was like, oh my
fascinating.
God, this is great.
This
Where are they going
could
to
go to so many great heights.
It's like Lost, dude. It's
Yeah.
a
But then
lot
it goes
like
to all of the low valleys.
There
not
were-
to bring up a show you've never seen, but Lost is just like this. It sets up this beautiful mystery. It's either scientific or whatever you want to call it, and then it gets answered. It's almost exactly
it
like
gets
Lost.
answered in the most simplistic and uninteresting way.
And they're both kind of answered in kind of a celestial godly.
Yeah, it kind of like a afterlife type deal.
Yeah,
which is
there's a deity
I'm eye
kind
rolling.
of or whatever. Yeah, it's man. Yes, but I'm with you. I was so excited after Matrix 2, and now I hate that I can't watch
It
it.
would've
I
been-
didn't
would've
like
been-
it as much as the first one, but I thought, hey, you know what? There could be something cool here. I understand why I'm getting the next one in 6 months.
Right.
This was it. The whole thing with the whole it didn't have to suck. The third one didn't have to suck. The second movie basically ends with Neo showing that he has powers in like the Zion world, right? The future apocalyptic world, right?
That he is basically a god thing.
But he's still powerful
But
outside of the Matrix.
That's
Right.
still powerful outside of the Matrix.
Yes.
At that point, my mind fucking exploded, and I was like, "Holy shit! They're still in the Matrix."
yeah,
Yes.
it's a
Right?
layered matrix or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, holy shit, that means we have a whole lot of stuff we can still explore. Nope.
Nope. You got to go back into the Matrix.
He's a
God
god thing.
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, literally a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
are you shitting me?
Yeah. And
So disappointing.
Hey, remember-
I don't know that I've ever been more disappointed in a movie than I was in Matrix 3. I really don't
did
know.
They outsmart themselves trying to fool
Yes.
us?
I think
Yes.
so.
that's exactly the first thing I said. It's like, well, they outsmart themselves.
So disappointing.
Remember in the second one, it's like, oh, there's these twins that are like super badass. Oh, Monica Bellucci's here. Yeah, all right, I'm into this. And then the third one's like, fuck them. They're part of the other movie. They're not in this thing.
Mark my words. Matrix 4
Not seeing it. Mark my words, I ain't seeing it.
will retcon all of 3.
Yeah, I agree.
Go for it.
It will,
I ain't
it will
going.
retcon it all, and they will go back to that idea that he was still in the Matrix. I fucking guarantee
They
it.
better.
I guarantee it.
I ain't
They
gonna
better.
see it. I ain't gonna see it.
I'll see it.
Someone gave him a virus that made him go back into the lower level of the Matrix, thinking he fixed shit. But
Yeah.
in reality,
That'd be great.
yeah,
That'd be great.
Yeah.
that works.
They downloaded a
Like,
virus
The whole
that
thing,
made
the
him do
whole
the wrong
thing was
thing.
just which was exactly like that was what I was thinking too. Is like, oh man, he's just what allows the Matrix to rebel, right?
Right.
Like this whole thing is on a cycle, and it's going to reboot, and he's going to have to realize that he is also part of this cycle and break free of it.
Right.
Because the only way this whole Matrix thing works is if you give people this avenue and this thought that they actually can break free.
Right.
And that they do. Right.
right.
It could have been so fucking cool.
So let's digress.
All right. So what's their next? Is this their next? This is
All right. So then
movie, right?
Matrix Revolutions, obviously, and then well, this was one that is most people hate, but I actually kind of like Speed Racer.
Oh, I never saw it.
This is one I still
It
lament.
looked cool.
It does look cool. This is one that I still lament to this day that I did not see in IMAX 3D because I heard that it was just like eye fucking how cool it looked, and I didn't see it, and I'll probably never get a chance to see it.
Probably not.
I've not seen it on a very big screen, and I still think it looks cool. So I can only imagine how awesome it looked.
So they went from Speed Racer to Jupiter Ascending?
No, to this, to Cloud
this?
Atlas.
Oh my God. Jupiter
So it
Ascending
took them
came
4
after this?
years to
Okay.
make this after Speed Racer.
Okay, fair enough.
Then they did kind of simultaneously. They were developing Sense8, which is their TV show on Netflix, which I never really watched. I watched a few
I
episodes.
heard some people liked it.
It
enough.
actually is pretty well liked, yeah. But then Jupiter Ascending was 2015. That's another one that would have fit this April theme. If we ever do this again, we probably need to watch it. That is not one that I will defend with much rigor or vigor.
or
Nope.
alcohol.
I'll defend it with a wet spaghetti noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that means you'd have to boil some water first.
Yeah, you're
Isn't that
actually
too much
working.
effort?
But I still maintain, even as bad as that movie is, I still maintain that I'm glad it's out there. Because I applaud them for taking risks with that kind of like fantasy, space opera, sci-fi, because nobody else is.
The problem is, though, it's like movies like that and Valerian end up not doing
They
very
end up
well.
not doing well, and then they make it harder for the next want to make one.
But then you get something like Alita that's right on the edge because it does well in Asia.
Yeah.
It's like, it's teetering on whether or not it's going to get that sequel.
I wish that somebody had just taken the Messiah and Jupiter Ascending. It's like, it's too far. This is too far. Let's pull this in. Freddie Redmayne. Redmayne.
Yeah.
Like, dude, your performance is what are you doing? Like, just stop. Like, play this a little differently, because man, he almost sinks that whole movie himself.
Yeah, Eddie Redmayne could be the guy who, if Ben Whishaw was not available for Cloud Atlas, just pop him right.
Yeah, totally.
When Ben Whishaw is not available for some,
I get them mixed up. Actually, yeah, totally. So then, that's it. And then Matrix 4 next year.
Yeesh.
They've executive produced a bunch of stuff. Viva Vendetta is one of them.
Yep. That's one I like.
Yeah, but that I don't know. I for one am glad the Wachowskis are in the world.
Sure, I mean somebody's got to be there to take some chances.
I like the way they take chances. I like how hard they swing the bat. I'm really waiting for them to hit another home run.
Would you have the same feeling?
For me, Cloud Atlas is a triple.
Okay. At least they hit a triple. I was going to say, think of this from a perspective of your favorite baseball team, and this is your cleanup hitter, and he's just swinging the bat hard. Are you going to be defending him at all?
Oh, I mean,
maybe it's just the way you use the.
Yeah, I'm kind of being a little not derivative. What's the word for it? Reductive. With the metaphor,
you're really having a hard time with.
I am. He's been hanging out with me today. I forget words all the time.
The metaphor is reductive. Yes, you shouldn't just go up there and swing like Casey at bat, right?
Right. At least you remember that.
But
that's not vocabulary.
But they already have the craftsmanship.
Right.
They already have like an immense amount of talent. Right, so when
they certainly have a vision.
So when they swing, that it's going to look amazing already. Sure. They already have that baked in.
Right.
So yeah, it's not just blindly swinging a bat.
How did they generate the money for the Matrix? Because that movie cost a lot.
I don't think that first one cost as much as.
It didn't cost as much as you think.
They just had really good practical effects.
I think they were able. Did they get? Was that an early Weta? Special effects, maybe.
It could very well have been. I mean, most of what they did, they created. With that bullet time, the multiple cameras.
Although, remember what one of our friends used to always say, it was Buffalo 66 that did it first.
Well,
I have a feeling I know what friends said that.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't take their.
I mean, I think he's technically correct, and I don't think the technology, the idea wasn't new, but they took it to a huge scale.
Yeah. No, but what you were saying, tying back to what I said about Alita, it's like
the Matrix only cost $63 million.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It made almost $500 million.
Wait, it cost $66 million?
$63 million.
That's insane.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean
that's still a lot of money.
That is, but we don't say the
That's
name.
still a lot of money is in $1999, but that's still not crazy.
No, yeah.
I mean, what year was Terminator 3 made?
2003.
2003. So it was 4 years later. Terminator 3 was made. How much did that cost? It was like $200 million.
Something like that.
That earned a budget though, right? I mean, based on Terminator 2, kind of.
But,
I mean, they'll put more into those,
right?
But if you watch even today, Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines next to The Matrix.
Oh, you mean the look of the film?
Which one do you think is going to look like $200 million? It's going to be fucking The Matrix, right?
Right.
Okay, I get that point.
Yeah.
I get that point.
No, as far as Cloud
with the
Atlas
exception
goes.
of that one scene with the semi truck where they flip the semi truck.
Oh yeah,
fuck, that's amazing. that honestly is probably the greatest action sequence in all of the Terminator movies. Is the semi truck scene in?
It's also the best action sequence in Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, the semi truck scene.
Yeah, from Terminator 3.
As I say, I don't remember that.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, it was like inside my head. It was happening while I was watching.
Oh, you were reliving Terminator 3 while we were watching Cloud Up? You poor thing.
Oh shit! He's trying to figure out the timeline. It's like, wait a minute, when did Sarah Connor die?
Yeah,
Like,
wait.
Wait, when did Tom Hanks go back in
When
time?
is it supposed to be Judgment
Become
Day?
a weird doctor who kills people?
When did he get like these tattoos on his face?
When did he cut his face? Oh, there it is. Never mind. Okay, I'm good now.
When did Chris Hardwick put fucking Terminator online? What was it? What? Yeah, he was the guy. He put Skynet online in the third movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I spent too much time wondering when he was going to get that damn scar, though. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't really think too much about that.
I was like, oh, it's coming now. Oh, he's about to get it.
At that,
It's like fucking Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah, with Christopher Glover and his goddamn arm. Yeah, it's so good. It's one of the best like movie long gags ever.
I had a great experience watching that movie for the first time that I cannot talk about here. That movie was awesome.
like at that point, it's like I was just thinking, it's like, oh, that's just another Tom Hanks.
Right.
Like that. Like
it was a different Tom.
It was like another.
Oh well, yeah.
Like another Tom Hanks, and he just came out deformed.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But every time they said true, all I could think of was Death by Snoo from Futurama.
Yeah, I don't know.
That fall flat for somebody out there listening is like, oh yeah, Snoo. The body is willing, or the.
That was an odd choice. I didn't have too difficult a time following that language most of the time, but some of the time I really didn't know what the hell they were saying.
It's hard. I actually.
Why did they?
I think the last time I watched this movie, I put the subtitles on. Because it's easier with the subtitles because you can, if you read it, you can get the inference.
You can suss it out.
You can suss it out. You can get the true. You can get the true.
Because they do say sus.
It's
you continue with
that's
sus.
why that continues to hurt me because I can't hear accents very well anyway.
Right.
And then I went to made up language. Oof.
Well, here's the thing. Like,
it's hard.
There was one point where it seemed like. So like the future, like the Neo Soul stuff, felt like just kind of like directly lifting stuff from Logan's Run, from Soylent Green. They even mentioned Soylent Green
right
at one point.
Yeah.
So it's like that's starting to bother me. And then like the end part, all of that language. Have you ever read Clockwork Orange?
Yeah.
It's that language.
Yeah,
I mean, because at one point they even said, "Oh, this was an old viddy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that was really, really kind of getting on my nerves. It's like, stop plucking things from other things. Stop referencing better things in your shitty
But
movie.
again, I think that's not shitty movie.
I know.
But I again think that's the point. Is it's this. They're trying to come up with this mishmash of everything, right? And they're trying to also to make it easier for people to understand that mishmash by referencing things that we already have a connection to and already have a connection to in that context.
I kind of feel like that's folly though. But that's
maybe.
But you know, again, I started nitpicking.
I cog what you're saying.
Oh my god. This guy.
I'm gonna just
going
start.
for a little bit of the old in out.
I'm just gonna start talking in that language now. Like,
oh, please,
like
do.
those Star Trek people who talk in Klingon.
It would be even crazier if they used the song from a clock. Oh Jesus!
He's got a little bit of the corona.
But
yeah, some of
have
those.
you ever
some
read
of those,
it in the original Klingon?
Some of those white people in Asian face look like Klingons.
They did. They look like Romulans and some
Romulans. Yeah,
because Hugo Weaving's had like really smooth.
He looked like he
skin,
should be in Star Trek.
And then down here, it was all wrinkly like his regular age, and it's like
So I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't take that to think that they were even actually like Asian anymore. That is just what everyone on Earth looks like now.
I think you made that up to appease yourself.
Maybe.
No, I don't really know.
Well,
that was a joke. But
Keith David is still a black guy with that Asian
That's
makeup.
true, and that was
that's weird, man.
That to me also was the one valid critique that, in my view, like a very valid critique. Maybe not the one where the Asian Alliance group they said, it's one thing to do the yellow face, but it's a double standard. It's a double standard to not do it across all races like blackface. Right. So why didn't you think you couldn't go there?
But you could go
But you
all
did
over
think
us.
you could go here.
Right.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He finds that funny.
Yeah.
Like, that says something about you.
I find you funny. You're like, yeah.
Well,
Well,
I don't.
Cloud Atlas.
you did it, Jeff. You did it.
I cannot recommend this movie. I can't. There's no way I can go to my dad and say, I watched this really interesting movie. I didn't particularly care much for it, but here you go, Dad. Here's 3 hours of what the fuck. He wouldn't go for that.
Well, when you say recommend, you're usually
literally.
I know, but again, you're being universal about your recommendation. Like you can't no. I'm saying you can't. There aren't movies that you like that you would only recommend to certain people.
Well, I mean,
every movie that you like has to be one that you would recommend that everyone would like.
He's getting defensive.
Oh,
no,
he's pissed.
I'm just saying you're always the one that at the end of the episode gets into the recommendation part.
Okay.
My feeling is I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Watch it. If you found any of this
interesting,
if you found any of this interesting in this discussion and it intrigues you enough to watch the movie, then fucking watch the movie.
Well,
whether I recommend it or not.
Okay, if somebody came up to me and said, did you like Cloud Atlas? Not really. Should I watch it? No.
I would be like, I don't know.
But
I have no clue if you should watch it. I hate when people do that because I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know what movies you like.
So now you're being universal now. He's saying he originally talked about his father specifically.
Right. Fair.
So if he's saying I would never recommend this to my father, it's because he knows his father. You can't take it to the place of, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, fair. I'm just saying, like, it's always like, would I recommend this movie? No. Well, I don't think
I get that from a broader
fair.
sense. From a broader sense, I get that.
Because
I think you're both arguing different points.
I think so too. And you just would never recommend this movie from the standpoint of you wouldn't want somebody to be disappointed on your recommendation because you don't really feel any real positive thoughts toward it. Right. I get that.
Thank you for also bringing up something else, Chuck.
Let me finish my point real quick.
Okay, go for it.
My view on it is I wouldn't just blindly recommend this movie. I wouldn't just go up to everyone and say, you should watch Cloud Atlas and be that guy.
Right. There are people who are that guy.
There are, but I'm not that guy ever. But if I really love a movie and I think you will like it, I will wholeheartedly recommend it to you.
Fair enough.
This would be one of them that I would selectively push on people that I think would love it.
All right.
I knew it was going to go this way with you, by the way.
Oh!
I wasn't sure about Chuck.
Oh,
I have an envelope with those. Jason wrote these things down earlier.
You should have done that. That would have been great.
The great Jarmo.
Yeah.
But pulled the envelope up to his head.
But I also want to commend you on having a very, very thoughtful discussion about the thematic elements of this movie and what did work.
Sure.
So I appreciate that.
No, I mean, it's not like, again, I had a feeling what happened with fucking Zardoz happened with Zardoz. It was just a lot of fun watching you watch that. Those first 15 minutes, I literally thought you were going to melt. And that was great. But
I'm thinking of the end of the the Round Ball Rock SNL skit where they start breaking everything with their tiny hammers.
Oh Jesus!
And Vince Vaughn says, "I was like, you guys kind of knew it was going to go this way, didn't you?" and they look back at him, John Tesh and his brother Phil Tesh.
Yeah,
right? They're like, yeah, we kind of knew it was going to go this way.
So Chuck, you said the word father. Did you notice in the 1973 timeline, Halle Berry said the word father really weird twice? She said it in an accent. Like one time, I think she said, like she almost sounded German, like putting on a German accent, like the T was really hard. Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. That was just
didn't
one
notice
thing.
that.
I wrote that down. It's like,
Well, she spoke more like Tom Hanks in some scenes when she was the prescient. Or is that
Yeah.
what they're called, prescients?
Well, there is an explanation for that. She was speaking their lingo.
So she was trying to.
She was trying
she
to
was speaking
connect-
their lingo.
Their lingo. Yeah.
She was
They're
sussing
ling-ling.
out what
They're
they
ling-ling.
say.
Their ling.
So she could sound true.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. I don't have
There's
anything
some
else.
good stuff here. It's just unfortunately the sum of the parts didn't equal up to what the individual parts were. That's all I have to say. I could have said that in 30 seconds and then just fucked off from this episode and let you guys suss it out.
He already thanked you.
Yeah, I know.
did, man.
I know.
Golly.
I know. I still wanted to have a conversation.
I
about
think
it.
we still turned out a good episode, and I think that.
Well, we took a little bit of a detour there with the Matrix
Well, I think we had to do that.
because we couldn't talk about Cloud Atlas for.
Well, it's just the Wachowskis. You have to bring it up. I mean, it's impossible not to, especially since it was just recently announced that they're making yet another Matrix movie.
Got to go back to that cash cow, man.
Yeah,
That cow.
the cow. And I mean, I could probably talk more about Tickford, but it would just be me talking into a microphone and you guys just sitting there. So that's no fun. But Run the Run's great.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, he did the music for that too. Tickford.
I saw that when I was looking at. Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw
that
it.
was a great like late '90s techno score. Yeah, I still have that CD. I think. Yeah, I saw that in a theater. It was one of those just kind of magnificent theater experiences where I went in that movie just from seeing the trailer and not knowing really what it was all
Right.
about. But I remember like the ticking clock, in the trailer, and it was a really well made trailer. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I think I saw it with Susan, John, your brother, and Dave Lichty. I think we all watched it together at the old Castleton Arts, and we're pretty blown away by it. Yeah.
All right. So next week next week could be rough, guys.
What's next week?
Oh boy.
The Adventures of Hudson Hawk.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've seen this movie since maybe it was on VHS, man.
Ugh.
Like
I think
I don't remember this movie very well at all, other than like the
singing and
the
the
singing. Yeah.
That's
It's like the only
talk
thing I
about a
remember.
throughput. That song, man. The whole movie. I haven't seen this movie probably in 10 years. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
it's-
I think I caught the end of it on like TBS or
Probably
TNT or something.
25 years since
It's
I've
gonna
seen
be
this
So
movie.
Fine.
I had a lot of fun with it.
It's
We'll
gonna-
see what
it's-
I think after watching it 20 years later.
It's
or
gonna be
whatever.
fine. And then so that's next episode is is Hudson Hawk.
Yep,
All right.
Hudson Hawk. So another swing and like a swing that like
For having Bruce Willis
Is that the
in
one
it,
where your feet get all twisted around?
no, it's like it's when you're playing wiffle ball
Yeah.
and you think that you really need to swing
You
hard.
fall on your ass.
No, you just swing really hard, but it's a wiffle ball, so it only goes right back to the pitcher.
Oh, so they still hit it.
Yeah,
in your
right, you
opinion.
still hit it, but it goes
Yeah.
right back.
It
to
just
the,
dribbles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. It's like I swung as hard as I could.
Yeah, you just didn't quite get on it. Yeah.
Right.
Because you always had to hit just on the sweet spot.
Well, the secret of wiffle ball is you don't swing hard.
The secret of wiffle ball is putting tape on them so they don't have holes.
That's true. And it depended on what type of bat, because the bat we always used was not the thin bat. It was
the big red bat.
Big
The big red bat.
Oh
Yeah.
man, the sound that made when you hit it just right. Oh,
yeah.
that's the thing of childhood magic.
Yep.
We had a friend's backyard that we played at, and their house was like the Green Monster. I don't know. Home runs were off that house. If
That's
you hit the
awesome.
house, it was a home run.
Nice. Yeah, so every Wednesday, go to filmseizure.com. You get one of these things,
Yep.
one of these conversations.
Listen up.
Mondays, I got Monster Mondays. It's a fun time. It's a good time.
Yeah, good times.
Then Saturdays this year, it's 00 Saturdays.
00 Saturdays.
I'm writing little essays.
What area are you into at this point? You're in April.
So we're in April. What is it?
You got to be into the Roger.
Yeah, Roger
Moores.
Moore's pretty solidly in the middle of the Roger early Roger Moore
Yeah.
era. Yeah,
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
And then Fridays you have your
B movie anima.
B-movie anima.
Hey, and we were
Hi.
talking about the Showgirls. That's July 3rd.
Oh God, I can't.
Oh.
wait. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
just
good.
saw that's streaming somewhere. Did you buy it or did
Jeff's
you stream
apartment.
Yeah, I bought it.
Because it's I just saw I was flipping through. Oh, it might have been because Susan bought Encore Stars or whatever because she watched
Yes,
that
it is
Outlander
it's
show.
on Stars.
And I saw it in their library. I was like, fuck, I gotta watch that. I don't know if it's gonna be the
Back.
NCT. I don't know if it's gonna be the NC-17 version or not, but yeah,
Yeah, that's still NC-17.
the one on Stars.
I think so. Yeah,
So well, that's
Was there
what I
ever an
watched.
R-rated version of this movie?
There was.
there was, and then that one's like washed away to time. It's like we're gonna stand my DVD that I bought for like $5 that just came out a few years ago. It's like we're standing by that NC-17. That's glorious. That's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Do that.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, follow us Facebook and Twitter. That's at
That'd
the
probably be an easy
Set
R
Film
today. Sorry.
Seizure. Yeah, probably would be an R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, there's a lot of nudity, but
I fucked up the landing there.
yeah, you kind of did. Anyway, so until
Par
next
for the
time-
course here.
Yeah.
Just like what else is new?
Yeah. So until next time, when we go on a little adventure, a little thieving con man-y kind of adventure with
Those all sound like
old
good
Hudson
things.
Hawk.
I'm excited.
Those all sound like
Yeah.
good things.
Yeah.
So until then, I'm Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck.
It's the true.
And I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.